Release the Kraken!
Welcome back, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios. And in this one, we're going to go ahead and export this to Unreal. So go ahead and grab the root bone here. That's the one all the way down at the bottom. Okay. And then we want to shift select the body joints, or sorry, the body parts. So let's go ahead and grab the leg through the head. Okay. We don't need to take the reference block, so we'll leave that alone. And we don't need to take this block. We've already done that one. File, export selection. I'm going to go ahead and name this SK for skeletal mesh underscore. This is going to be not Steve. Again, whatever you want to name him. Underscore, and this is going to be the bind pose. So bind pose. Geometry, we want the smooth group, smooth mesh, and reference asset. Under animation, we need to uncheck animation. There are none baked yet. And then make sure, of course, we're under FBX export, and then export selection. Hey, we got him good. We're pretty much good in here. Let's go ahead and create our project in Unreal. Okay, so now that Unreal is open, go ahead and choose a game. Go to next. And just FYI, I am using version 4.24, but I believe at the time of this recording, 4.27 is available. It should still work. You should be fine. I'm going to choose a blank and then go to next. For this one, we're going to be doing blueprints. Again, if you want to see this in C++, go ahead and leave some comments down below. And if it's popular enough, I will go ahead and do a C++ version. Let's change the maximum quality down to scalable. We don't need ray tracing. We're not going to use any starter content this go around, and we are going to be using desktop, so that's good. And then make sure you save to where you want it to go. I'm going to use my local folder here. And then this is going to be whatever you want your game to be called. You can call it Minecraft clone, you can call it not Minecraft. I'm going to stick with the trend and do not Minecraft. And this is going to be tipped for tutorial. All right. Once Unreal is open, we'll go ahead and just start organizing some stuff. For anybody who's ever followed my tutorials before, you know that I like to get the basic organization done and out of the way right off the bat. So this part's going to be about making folders and getting the initial stuff set up. So let's go ahead and do that. To get to your content, make sure you hit the three little lines next to filters here. That'll open up your content folder, so you can get your tree. And now it's all a matter of creating the necessary folders. So add new folder. First thing is going to be blueprints. Inside of blueprints, I'm going to make a characters folder. Also in blueprints, I need systems. So system. We also want a folder for the items and other things. So I'm going to call this one blocks, I guess. And off the top of my head, I think that's all I need. So system, characters, and if you have enemies, but enemies can go inside of here. Okay, next thing on the list. So content, let's add in a folder. We'll call this one materials. We'll also do textures. We need a static mesh folder, so static mesh. And we also need a skeletal mesh folder. And last but not least, we need an animation folder. And while we're here, let's do the audio folder as well. Should have sound at some point. Okay, and if I miss anything, we'll add it later. Let's go ahead and get in our skeletal mesh. So locate where you put it. I'm going to go ahead and drag in the Steve bind pose here. It is a skeletal mesh, so check, and mesh, check. We don't have anything to add. We'll go ahead and import. Okay, so this is actually kind of good that I ran into this. You can see right here on this error, it says error could not import the head, duplicate bone name found. So joint 2, each bone must have a unique name. So if you ever run into that, that just means that one of your bones or more might have the same name. So let's go in here, and I'm going to choose my skeleton. And you see the little plus sign next to it. Hold down Shift and then click on the plus sign. That'll open it up. And you can, yep, sure enough, down here under our hip, we never named the feet. So go ahead and grab the feet joints. So this is the left foot. So L underscore foot, and then right underscore foot. R underscore foot. Okay. We're going to repeat our export. So go ahead and grab your root joint here. And then we're going to then go back up to the head, Shift and click. So all these. You don't have to select every joint. You just need the root joint and then the body parts. And then you can go ahead and export. I'll re-export over itself. And the reason you don't need to have the body parts is these are all the other joints is these are all children of the root, so it's going to grab its children anyway. But okay, that should be good. Let's go back in, and let's go ahead and grab the mesh again. Drag it in. Yes. Import. Cool. Now, we do get this warning here. Now, a warning is not the same as an error. Errors mean I can't do anything. Warnings mean something doesn't seem right, but I'll still work. And the thing it's complaining about is our head, hand joints, and feet joints are not weighted to the skin. And that's true. We're only using the shoulder joints, the hip joints, the pelvis, and the neck joint to rotate anything. So we don't need these extra joints to actually do anything. It's just telling you, hey, I noticed these joints aren't doing anything, but they're there. Okay, but we already know that, so we can say okay. And there we go. So here is our character imported. Here are the materials. Here are the textures. And it comes in with the skeleton, the actual skeletal mesh, and then the physics asset. Let's go ahead and organize this. All of the sphere looking things, these are our materials. Let's go ahead and move these into our material folder. These textures will go to our texture folder. Looks like I have a material left over. I'll go ahead and move that. So all that should be in our skeletal mesh folder will be our skeletal mesh and the accompanying pieces. You can make folders for these as well, if you like. Okay. Physics asset. Go ahead and jump over to the physics asset, double click that. If you want to change these, you can. To show you how, just select all of it. So select this, select all. You'll see it has a hierarchy. If you want to change these out, you can change it from a capsule to a box, to a sphere, to a single convex mesh, and then you just do regenerate. And it'll make them like that. And then you can save. If you want to see how this mesh is going to work, you can go ahead and just hit simulate, and you can see this is how his blocky body works. And what's nice about the physics asset is you can create body collisions with this stuff. I'm going to go through real quick and just name these since I already named it and changed it. So this one will be, yeah, it doesn't want me to rename it. But if you double click on the word, just very gently, you can rename it there. So I'm going to go ahead and name this body. This one's going to be the head. This is the left arm. This is the right arm. And sorry, I didn't actually put the word collision on these. You should name these what they are. So I'm going to just kind of copy that there. And this will be left leg collision and right leg collision. And save it real quick. Let's test our simulation. Perfect. We're good in there. Steve is all beautiful. He's so beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and make some of our system pieces. Save this real quick. Oh, let's get our box in too. Let's grab that. We're already here. So grab our block and drag it in. And nothing special. It's not a skeleton, so we don't need that. Auto-generate collision, that's fine. Import. There's our block. Let's change the Lambert here. We're going to call this block color. Now later when we have different textures or something to apply, we will look at the other options and make different materials, but for now we'll just leave this as the block color. So let's move that to materials. Again, save it. Now let's set up the basics for our game's functionality. For the level that we're in, we need to save the map, so let's go up and hit File, Save Current. And I noticed that we never created a map folder, so let's go ahead and do that. So under Content, I'll just go ahead and right-click, New Folder, call that Maps. And I'll go ahead and select that folder, and this is going to be Level 1. Or you can name it Map 1 or Map 2, whatever makes sense to your brain. Okay. Let's go to our blueprints and then System. We'll add New. Blueprint class. We need our player controller and our game base. So we'll go ahead and do player controller. And this one is going to be not Minecraft, so not Minecraft. This is going to be player controller. I just abbreviated for NMC for not Minecraft, but you can name it however you like. Next thing on the list will be the game mode base. So this is the Minecraft game mode. Good enough. And we need our characters. So go to characters, right click, add a blueprint class, character. And this is going to be Steve, or in this case, not Steve. Now, if you want, you can also name this player. There's no harm in it. In my case, I will name it player just to stay safe in my brain. So player is fine. Go ahead and open them up. Choose the mesh, and then drop in your player mesh. Hey, look at that. He's almost the correct size. I'm going to go over to my location, and I'm going to do -90 in the Z value. And I'm also going to do on the rotation a -90, because he has to face this light blue arrow here. So -90. Cool. Now, you can see there's a problem. The capsule container for our character is too big. So let's go into perspective, come down to one of our views. It could be top, down, left, or right. I'm going to grab the front view. Okay. Select the capsule. Come over to capsule half height and capsule radius. I'm going to draw the half height down so that it roughly fits where the character is going to be, and a radius, I'll pull that in. I don't care about the arms, so I'm going to pull into about Steve's body. Okay, If you ever played Minecraft, you know the arms pass through doors and stuff because they don't account for those on the collision. Good enough. Let's choose the mesh. And I'm going to move the mesh up so it fits more so inside of this boundary. And we don't want our character to ever float. So I'm going to make the capsule a little smaller. And that's fine. I would rather the head pass through than the body gets stuck and collide on stuff. If you notice the snapping is too much, you can turn the snapping off. So up here for grid snaps, you can take this, you can drop it down to 1, and that'll let you snap one space at a time. Or if you don't like it, you can just uncheck the grid and then you can free move it. Okay. Turn mine on. I'm going to zoom in over here. I'm just going to try to line this up with the bottom of that. Good enough. You take that capsule down just a little bit more. Again, I don't want to get clipped on things that are weird. Okay, let's take a look from the side view. So left, right should work. I don't think there's any harm in that. That should be good enough. Let's go back to our perspective view. So this is our Steve. Compile it. Save it here. All right. So we are about 20 minutes in. Let's go ahead and add in our basic movement controls, and then we'll call it a day. So go up to Edit, Project Settings, Maps and Modes. Let's go ahead and set this up. We'll set in our game mode, so our not Minecraft game mode. And we'll change the default pawn. We'll make this our player. Or if you name them Steve, go ahead and make sure you choose Steve. For the controller class, we're going to make this our not Minecraft controller. The rest of this we'll leave for now. For the map, let's change the default map to level 1 and the entry to level 1. So 1 and 1. And then for our controls, go down to Inputs, and we'll do an action. So hit the plus sign on action. We'll name this one Jump. And I'll go ahead and set this to use the spacebar. Let's make it controller compatible. So I'm going to make it on the controller. I'll do face button. And then the bottom face button. So if you're on PlayStation, that would be the X button. If you're on Xbox, it'll be the A button. There's my jump. Add a new map. This one's going to be Action 1. So we'll say primary action. So this will be like attacking, placing blocks and such. This is going to be left mouse button. And I also want a controller button, so I'm going to use the controller, so face button. The left one is going to be, if it's PlayStation, that'll be square. If it's Xbox, let's see, A is on the bottom. I think that's where X is on the Xbox. And then a secondary action if you want one. I'm going to do this one as right click. Action. So that'll be right mouse button. And this one will be, I guess, face button top. So if it's PlayStation, that would be triangle, or whatever the appropriate equivalent is on Xbox. Actually, I think triangle is where X is on Xbox. It's reversed, but whatever. I could be wrong. I don't play enough Xbox, obviously. Last thing on here will be the we'll call this one cycle. Whenever you scroll the wheel, it cycles between the blocks or your weapons. So we'll call this item cycle. And I'll do mouse wheel. Let's do axis up. Change this one to cycle forward. So if you push, if you roll it forward, it'll go to the next item in, and if you do cycle backward, it'll back out to the next item. So I'll add one. This is going to be item cycle backward. And this one will be mouse wheel down. Okay, and then whatever the appropriate button on the controller is. So maybe I don't know, you do you. I'm going to do left bumper and right bumper, or left trigger, right trigger. So left trigger, and then right trigger. And you can put those on the same thing. You can make these, on one side of the controller or the other. You do you. But that should get us good for basic controls. Let's also do the movement. So go down to axis, hit the plus sign. We need a couple of these. The first one will be move forward. And then however many buttons you need. That's going to be W for forward, S for backward. And then if you're on a controller, it'll be left stick. So left thumbstick. I'm gonna do. You can actually do the axis, but I like having a discrete input. So I'm gonna do left thumbstick up, and then left thumbstick down. Make sure the S key is -1, and then the down thumbstick is also -1. If you're using the axis instead, then you don't have to do that. It'll figure it out. This one's going to be move right. So move right. So D is to the right. A is to the left. And then thumbstick right. So left thumbstick right. And then left thumbstick left. So the A button is going to be negative, and then the left button will also be negative. Camera. We want this to be on our mouse button, or sorry, our mouse axis. So we turn left and right and up and down. So I'm going to change this. This is going to be camera look up. This one will be camera look down. Or sorry, camera look right. This is going to be mouse X. Sorry, actually this one's sorry, mouse Y. So, yep, look up should be Y. And then look to the right should be the mouse X. We don't have to change these. We can leave those as they are. Going to add an input. Going to make this one right thumbstick. And I'm going to use this one for the axis, right thumbstick, x-axis. And then right thumbstick. I have that backwards. I did that twice. This one's going to be the right thumbstick, y-axis. Right thumbstick, y-axis. And then right thumbstick, x-axis. Yay! Cool, all those are in. Let's go ahead and save it. Okay, let's set the basic movement and then we will see where we see. So let's go to our system and then player controller. We need a reference to our character. So the first thing we do is cast to our character. So cast to the player, whatever you named him. So I can name mine player, but if you name him Steve, you're going to look for Steve. We need a object reference, so we want to get the player character. Okay. And then from our player character, we want to just create a reference to it. So off of this, promote to variable. And I'll change this to player reference. Compile it. We don't need the event tick, we can get rid of that. Let's go ahead and right click. Let's get our move forward. So move forward. We'll also get our move right. Wrong one. You want the axis event. We'll also get our camera. So camera look. We want both of these. So look up. And then camera look right. Now all this is not set in stone. We're going to be making a lot of changes to this. But for now, we'll have some basic movement. So off of the move forward, we need to add movement input. So we actually need our player reference. Let's go ahead and drag this in. First thing we should do is check if it's legal. So we'll do is valid. Plug this in. This is going to make sure that if our player is ever destroyed, so if our player dies and the body is gone, this will no longer function. And it won't send out any errors because it can't find it. Okay. So if it's valid, we are going to then add movement input. Okay. For our world direction, we need from our player the way that he's going to look at the world. So we're going to do get control rotation. And we want to break this control rotation up. So off of here, we're going to do break rotator. And we want to isolate our Z rotation because that's going to let us turn left and right. So make rotator. Make sure this is on the Z, so Z to Z. You can move this by holding Control and clicking and dragging. Okay. And then from here we want our forward vector. So forward vector. Okay. That'll let us move forward for now. We also need the input from our movement. So let's drag this all the way to the scale value. Hit compile. That should be good. For the right, it's going to be the same deal. I'm just going to kind of keep these grouped together. Except off of here, we're going to do get right vector. And we're going to give it its own axis. So Control W, select this guy, Control W. Plug in the right axis. Right vector to the world direction. and then our axis value will plug in to there as well. I did skip this part for our is valid, so let's go ahead and duplicate that. I'll just run this through. Is valid. And then our player reference to there. Hey, don't forget to connect your player reference to the add movement as well. Compile it, save it. Let's go ahead and hit the drop down. I'll make this a play in editor window. So there we are. If I move forward, I can move forward and backward. Can't turn the camera yet. Let's set up the camera controls. Okay, so camera look up, we want off of our player. Again, we're going to do is valid. I'll just do this off of both right now just to make life faster. And then off of these, we need to add yaw controller. So yaw is for the left and right, and then the pitch is for up and down. So add controller pitch. So is valid, plug it in, and then green to green. Okay. Compile it, save it, play it. I can now turn left and right, and I can look up and down. Cool. Now I am seeing inside of my player, which I don't want. So there are going to be a few adjustments I'm going to make. But until then, I think we are good. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Oh, and then lastly, before we put this to bed, let's go ahead and add in the jump. So right click, we'll do jump. Let's get our player reference. And then again, we want to do is valid. What's wrong there? The question mark. If we press the button, we want to use the jump function. So from our player, jump. And you can see we have a jump and a stop jumping. So we get the jump. And then off of the stop jumping, check is valid. Stop jumping for this one. Wait. Now the camera is a bit wonky. But we will set that up. Okay, let's go ahead and fix the camera. I was going to say do it next time, but it really bugs me. So for the camera, I'm going to come over, make a little bit of room here. I'm going to make a toggle, so add variable, and we'll call this one is inverted. I'll say is aim inverted. And then I'm going to set this to true by default, so compile. Check it. If you like the aim the way it is, you can leave this unchecked. But I'm going to create this out here. We'll do a get with a branch. So branch. And our branch is going to determine if it's okay to invert. So off of here. We're gonna, if it's true, we're going to do our pitch using one type of math. If it's false, we're going to do the pitch using a different type of math. So let's go ahead and break this off. Use Control W to duplicate. So off of false, we'll go into the second one. And then the the difference is 1 is going to be multiplied by a -1. So I'm going to drag off of the axis value. I'm going to do times. So float times float. I'll plug this into the top one. And the value will be -1. If not, we will go be using the other one. So this is going to be inverted aim. This one is normal aim. Let's make some room here. And we'll go ahead and label this stuff just before we leave. So camera controls. It's so picky sometimes. And if you want to color code these, you can. So inverted aim, maybe I'll make that one green. Normal aim, I'll make that yellow. Cool. Oh, make sure we hook up our player reference. That's better. Next thing on the list, let's go ahead and make this a comment. We'll call this jumping. And then we have this be player movements. This piece, we're going to call this get reference to player. Or you can say get player reference, it's shorter. Get player reference. And then if we ever try to get the player reference and it fails, we want this to run again. So I'm just going to make a little bit of room here. We can get our player reference and do an is valid check. Is valid. If it's not valid, we will try making it. And then if it is valid, we'll do nothing. But then once we get to here, we're going to repeat, so do a delay. And we just want this delay to check back on itself. So I'll drag this back to here on the execution. Go ahead and double click the line. I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. Connect this back up. Okay. So if this ever fails when it tries to get the reference the first time, it'll try it again. And if it ever succeeds, it'll just stop. Okay, that should be good enough. Go ahead and compile it, save it. I think we're at about 40 minutes. So I shall see you in the next one. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you've enjoyed that video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have official merch and a Patreon somewhere in the link down below. Also, keep your eye out for the devlogs for Blockout and Rocket Flip. Those are 2 games that are coming out for Lame Duck Studios, officially released and all that good stuff. And if you guys want to see how those are being put together and the process that I'll be going through, stay tuned for that. You'll be seeing those coming up here soon. And don't forget that I create new content on Sundays and I release content on Wednesdays. So stay tuned, and I shall see you next time.